Okay, I'm cleaning fuel pumps. So I put it in my ultrasonic cleaner, and then when it comes out, it's real hot. So I'm letting it cool down a little bit before I pull all the pieces out. But to do that, I just take a little container and I just kind of dip some of the water out so it cools down. And I take this and pour it back into another container, or I might dump it. I don't know. It's pretty dirty. It's not too bad. The Pine Sol, you can get the cheaper brand, but the Pine Sol is really good. Okay, then I get some warm water. I just take my pieces out of here, let them rinse good, and then I'm gonna, once they're rinsed off, I'm gonna lay them out. Boy, if you saw this before it went in, I should have done that. Anyway, it looked really, really good. I mean, really dirty. Like this one, you know. I mean, they really clean up. Okay, once I got my pieces laid out, I'm gonna fire up my compressor. Take this and just spray them off, dude. So on these fuel pumps, I highly recommend getting the check valve kit. And this is for the 67, but just you have to check your check valve and make sure it's right, but get the check valve kit. So this one happens to be 21-304-3A1. Check valve kit, check valve kit. Quicksilver makes it. And it comes, you know, with the, you can't see it on this, well, yeah, you can. There's the check valve. So, you know, we got our gasket set, and then we got our check valves, and these are pretty simple. Now, on this, you know, here's my dilemma. Like, I got a perfectly good hose, and it's got these types of connections, right? So this will just thread into, I believe it's over here. Yeah, right here. I had to check that when I put it on the motor, but basically, you got these right elbows. So if I had to get rid of this factory hose, then I would have to go to a different type of elbow, which I bought some elbows, and that just happens to be 1/8 National Pipe and Tape. I don't know what the M stands for, but it's a 5/16 field line fitting, and it's a 90-degree elbow. So 1/8 inch National Pipe and Tape by 5/16 field line fitting. And they got these at the auto parts places. So anyway, you can get that if you want to replace that hose. I have this fitting that comes from the fuel inlet, and then it attaches to here. To do this, you know, this 67. There's a place where the coil sits on top. To get that out, you almost have to pull the motor. Well, you do, but these are real simple. You can't mess them up. You just take and, you know, we'll take something here. Take our scissors. As I pull it all out. There's our gaskets. Here's our check valves. You can see they only go really one way. So this one will go like this. So you got this gasket. It goes in each location where there's going to be a check valve. So we'll put those two gaskets in place. Alright, you guys. I was working on this 67 and trying to figure out the fuel flow on this. So hopefully it'll kind of come out. I guess I can scan it, but I was having trouble since there's two fuel pumps. You know, how is this going? So we're going to gravity feed it out. So the output is here, the input is here, and it goes over to the fuel bowl, goes up to this fuel bowl, goes up to this fuel bowl, and then out of there into this pump. And this doesn't have an end, it has a bypass. So then it goes through here, back out into the bypass of the other fuel pump. So we got 2 check valves in each of these fuel pumps. So when you put it together, if you're not sure how it is, the check valve will be, once you squeeze the bulb and you send fuel in, it'll send it out. If it's not, you swap the valves. So one will be up, one will be down. And then you're going to go up the ladder. When you get to here, if you don't have fuel here, you swap the check valves until you got fuel coming out of here. And then it'll come back down to this pump. So to verify that, first you do this one. So you have the end, and you got fuel coming out, and that's going to your carburetor. So then, once it goes up the ladder, it comes back into this fuel pump, and then you should have fuel coming out of here. If you don't, then you swap your check valves. It's pretty simple, but it really threw me having 2 fuel pumps instead of just the one. So I need to connect this back, and to show you, I'm going to just squeeze the bulb and we got fuel coming out. Should have our fuel delivery system fixed on this. Alright, here's a dual fuel pump setup for a 67 Thunderbolt 950. So there's 2 fuel pumps. The bottom fuel pump, we're going to come from the fuel connector to the end, and then it's going to go out to the carburetor, and then it's going to go up that fuel rail to the top carburetor, and then it's going to go through a bypass to the out, and that'll go back to the bypass input on the bottom carburetor. Alright, here's a little video footage of me being completely confused. I didn't, 2 fuel pumps. It's kind of weird, right? It's first time I messed with them. Usually it's just 1 fuel pump. This one had 2. So, of course, I didn't pay attention. I mean, I took pictures, but I didn't pay attention to how it was hooked up on the engine, cleaned the carbs, set the floats. Anyway, I put them back on, and yeah, it wasn't working. I got it to run, but it must have been something with the check valves were right the first time on the engine, and the top check valve, I think, was like wrong. I don't know what happened. Interesting. But I got my turkey fryer going and trying to stay warm. Hope everybody else is trying to stay warm. Anyway, put this all back together. It's pretty easy. I mean, you got the 2 check valves, and then you got a gasket and membrane and a gasket. And then there's the little middle piece that goes on the engine. I will say the bottom bolt, so these were all like screws, like Phillips head screws. But there was one that was like a 5/16 bolt, and it goes in the bottom of the engine, like on that bottom fuel pump. It kind of stays there, and that way you can get something on it to get it out. If you had the screw with the Phillips head screw on that bottom one, then it was hard to get anything in there to get the screw out. So luckily I had like the cowling and stuff that's around the engine. what I did was, I got that all loose so I could get that out of there because I made the mistake of putting the screw in there, and then I was like, oh man, I got to take these back off. So then I had to undo everything and then go in there and get it out. So finally I figured out that the 5/16 bolt goes in this one that's down here. You know, when it's one fuel pump, it's like all the bolts come off and then you don't lose them, and you're kind of like, where did it go? But anyway, it's like right there. I keep everything in bags, or I got little tubs, and so I had what, 5 Phillips screws. Two of them are longer, one of them short, and I was like confused. Oh, okay, well, but I figured it out. So the 5/16 goes in the bottom one, where you can get like a nut driver on it. But yeah, they go back on, and then once I figured out, okay, because at one point I didn't have fuel coming through the out of the bottom pump. I was like, well, that's not right, and I knew the output had to go over to the carburetor. It didn't go to the top fuel pump. So once I figured that out and it went up the rail and it came out, then I was like, oh, you're all right. This is a bypass. So then I didn't have any fuel coming out of it. So then I had to take it off, swap the check valves, put it back on. And then you saw where I had fuel coming out of the top one. So it was kind of a pain really, because I had to take the cowling off. The back 2 bolts on the cowling take like forever to get off. I finally got a system for it where I could take them on and off. Still, between that and the 2 front bolts on the front plate, a lot of times I took the plate off. Then it was same deal. It just takes for a while to get those bolts out of there. So, it's probably spent a good 30 minutes taking those bolts out. So that's kind of a bummer. But yeah, so that's fixed. I did run it, the motor, and it's I'm still working on this motor because it's just not. There's some things that are, I don't know. The bottom 2 carburetors I got nice, like I can put my hand in there and I can feel air moving in there, so I know it's running good on those. But then the top one is not. So either the float needs to be adjusted, or we got to look at like a reed valve, and that's unfortunate if it's a reed valve, because I'll have to disassemble the power head, take it off the motor, and fix the reed valve. I guess the only way to do it is maybe take the carbs off so I can look in there and see what the condition. You kind of see they don't move. There's 4 of them. Like, well, there's more than that. There's 4 on each side, so there's 8. It's kind of like the 50s, I would assume. I haven't seen it, but the reed valves, you either bend them or try to get some reed valves. Probably be able to get some reed valves for it, I would imagine. So, but otherwise, it's a pretty mean motor, and we're this far into it. So if it is a reed valve, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
You should be able to draw air through the valve, but not blow through